In this video, I'm going to show you the steps involved at changing a door handle on a 2002 Toyota Tacoma. This particular handle has developed a mechanical problem internally. I've been patching it for a while, able to take it apart and get it fixed, but it has gotten to the point now that it will not open the door. So what we are going to do is to simply replace it. They're very inexpensive, so instead of going through the aggravation of having to take this door panel apart just to repair it again, I'm simply going to put a new one in place. You want to make sure that your window is rolled up for this project, because you're going to need to be able to access through the door all the way through, and if your window's down, it's going to be in your way. So you want to make sure that it is rolled all the way up. And the first step is going to be to remove the knob that will for rolling up your window. Now, there are tools out there available to be able to remove that clip. It's just a little clip that sits back here behind this that snaps into place. There are various tools out there that you can get to remove these, but the tool that I use is simply a shop rag. All you have to do is to take this shop rag, work it up underneath this lever, wiggle it around, and then pull it back and forth, and eventually it will catch the tip of that clip. And once that clip protrudes through just a little bit, you can pull it out of the way, and then this whole knob will pull right off. Simply taking my rag, pushing it up underneath the door handle, working it back and forth until I find the edge of that clip. You need to get it up underneath the handle itself. You might have to wiggle just a bit. There we go. You can see here that the clip has started to work its way up. Just by using the rag, sliding it back and forth, we were able to catch the end of it. And I'm simply going to take a little something and pull it on out. You want to be careful not to damage your door panel. You don't want to tear it up. Keep your vehicle looking nice. And I'm simply going to keep working this. And once that clip is completely up, I can pull the handle out of the way, just like that. So a little plastic washer here. You want to make sure you do not lose that. Note the orientation of how that it goes onto your door. This is one of the things that kind of acts as a bearing for your handle, and so you want to make sure that you do not lose that. You can see the clip and the handle here. You can see the grooves that this clip fits down into. Putting these handles back on, you can have the clip in place. So one of the things that I like to do is simply snap this back on, and it also will give you an idea of the way that the clip will need to come out if you have to remove your door handle again. It's hard to know for sure which way that they're put on at the factory, but you can kind of get an idea here of what we've done when we removed it. When that clip is in place, there's a groove inside this here that clip will snap into and hold the handle in place. And when we took our rag and started working it around the handle for the window, it would catch the tip of that clip and then pull it up and out of place. And that is how we are able to remove this handle with just literally a rag. So just snap that clip back in, that way you don't lose it. Set all that aside and we'll move on to the next step. There are two covers here and here. They're going to need to be removed as well, so you can take just a small screwdriver or a pick. Try not to damage these if at all possible. They can be a little aggravating, but just take something, get underneath there, and it will pop right out, just like that one. Just be sure not to lose them. and there we are. There are 2 Phillips screws, one in each one of these, that will need to be removed as well. You need to remember that on these clips, they do orient only a certain way. You can kind of see how that there's a little bit of an angle to that clip as far as how it snaps in. If you try to snap it in opposite, it's going to bulge out and it's not going to fit right. And that's if it snaps in at all. But just remember that when you take these out, that they do go back a certain way. So what we've got to do next is to remove the 2 screws from here, and then also remove the screw here from our door opener. And those, once you have those 3 screws removed, everything else are clips that we can just snap loose. You need to remember on your door panels, you've got plugs for each of your speakers. So once you start removing the door panel itself, unsnapping the clips, you need to remember not to jerk too hard or you could damage your wiring. So what we're going to do now is just start unsnapping the door panel. I'm going to start at the bottom and just try to work my fingers underneath it. And once I get part of it loose, just giving it a little bit of a pull, and just a little at a time. We just gently, being careful not to break any of the clips, we pull all of them loose all the way around. Now we need to be careful as well. We do not want to pull this strip completely loose from the door panel. So also you've got your lock in place here. So what we do is once we get all of those clips pulled loose, is we will simply start working the door panel up. We're going to take it straight up until this strip comes completely out of the window track. Be gentle, don't force it, take your time. You don't want to have to buy a new door panel to repair your truck. Once you have that out, you can just reach behind and start unplugging the wiring for your speakers. Now this, we need to just twist it slightly and then just push it through the opening. Just like that. Set your door panel aside, and we now will have access to the door handle. Here's the wire. You can see that it is just, you push down on that tab and you should be able to unplug that from the speaker in your door. This speaker stays in place, so you don't have to worry about it. But you want to check this seal that goes around it. This one, of course, is gone, so you might want to, you may want to replace that. But it's very easy to replace that. But that speaker stays in place. We've got our top out. We're just going to have to pull this weather barrier loose back here, which it already is, and now we have access to the door handle itself. You'll need to remove a couple of these clips that hold the rods in place. You can see one there. There is another one, a larger one, up top that will need to be removed as well. You can see it there, the yellow one. And you may or may not be able to get these loose with the door handle still in place. You may have to take the handle partially out to be able to get to that top one. but if you fool around with it just a little bit, you may be able to get them. It's just up to you, however you want to do it. But you simply need to twist the clip around, taking a pair of pliers, or you may be able to even do it with your finger. And you twist that clip around, spin it, and the rod will come loose from the door handle. Here I've got the first clip removed. The way that I did this one is I actually just took a small precision screwdriver, pushed it in between the clip and the rod on the back side, and it popped it loose and let the rod come out. Now the next step is to get the larger yellow one. We're going to do it the same way, and then we will be ready to unbolt the door handle. Alright guys, you're going to need a socket and an extension to finish removing the door handle. There's 2 bolts, one on each side. The socket size that you're going to need is a 10 millimeter, and with your extension you just put that on there and it'll come out fairly easy. I recommend just loosening this first one until you get this back one out. It'll make it just a little bit easier for you, and when you put it back in you're going to want to do the same. And once we remove those 2 bolts, we will be able to remove the entire door handle from the vehicle. You're going to want to lift up on the door handle as if you're trying to open it. That way it will give it just enough room to flex and come out of the vehicle. If that upper rod is a little bit difficult to get out, then you can wait until you have the door handle itself loose and then just pull it from the front side, just like so. But you mainly want to make sure that you do not bend any of the rods connected to this. Here we have our old door handle. Now the next step that we need to do is to remove our locking mechanism from this old door handle, where we can reuse it with the new one. Remove the lock mechanism from the original door handle. Fortunately on these, if you just give them just a little bit of a twist, they'll pull right out for you. While you have your lock cylinder out, I recommend that you give it a good dose of oil, a good coating of oil. Clean out any trash or anything that you may find in it. Because if you don't, you're just going to cause yourself more trouble in the future. So I would recommend that while you have it out, go ahead, do just a little bit of maintenance on it, clean it up real good, and hopefully you have not broken this clip. If you have, you're going to have to replace it. This clip is very critical for holding that rod in. But give it a good oiling, give it a good cleaning, and it will extend the life of your lock mechanism. You can see the problem with this mechanism here. This piece here has gotten bent. I have straightened it a few times, and with a piece of metal like this, the more you bend it, the weaker it gets. So basically, it's got to the point now where it's just too flimsy to be able to try to repair. So hopefully we will get it, a good service life out of the replacement. And but this is the cause of our problem. That bar is supposed to catch on the top of this handle here, on this lever. When I pull it up, it's supposed to force that down, but unfortunately, as you can see here, it's gotten so flimsy it just bends out of the way. It's wore out. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to now install our lock in the new handle and reinstall it back into the vehicle. Start putting your bolts for the new door handle back in. Don't tighten them up all the way. Get both of your bolts started before you actually tighten them down. and it will make it a little easier, wiggling around to get the bolt holes lined up. If you have one of them tight, you may not be able to move it as much as you need to. So just leave them just a little bit loose and get both of them in before you tighten them up. Here we are just putting the clips for the door handle mechanism back together. For this one going back in, it has been easier to put the rods back on the door handle after it was installed. It's very easy to do. Here is one for the lock that I'm putting on now. Basically all I've got to do is to fit that rod into place, just push it in there, and then this clip will push back over and hold it in place, and there it is. Our door handle is now installed, and we're ready to test it for function, which we can see that our lock still works. It seems to be moving the rod to open the door just fine. So we're going to button this up and we're going to test it. The thing we're going to test is to see whether or not our key works. So we're just going to try the key and make sure that it will move the lock, which it seems to be doing just fine. So we're going to make sure that it's unlocked. We're going to test the door handle itself to make sure that it functions. And it seems to be doing very well. So now we are ready to reassemble the door panel. Our first step in reassembling the door panel is to reconnect the speaker. It would be a bad thing to get all of this back together, and when you turn your radio on, you notice that your speaker isn't working. So, and it's literally because, if you forget to plug this in. So it just takes just a minute to grab the cord, snap that back in place, and the next step, we're going to set the door handle close to the position that it will finally be in. We're going to grab our door latch and we're just going to kind of work it into place as well. You want to make sure that that cord for your speaker stays back out of the way, and we just start the door handle through, wiggle it around a bit, get it through just like that. Now we're ready to take the door panel, kind of tilt it in a bit of an angle, get the front in to that track for your window, and then pull it down over your lock, pull it down into place. Once you get it close to where it needs to be, kind of judging by where your door handle knob is, you can start pressing it and your clips should snap back in place. Just like that. Once we have our clips all in place, we're simply going to snap this door latch back in place, and we're ready to put our screws in. Once you get all of your screws in, it's time to put the window knob back in place. Once again, the clip is already installed on the handle itself. We've got to keep our washer, making sure of our orientation. We put that on there, and then to put it back in, all we have to do is to hold it in place, line it up, and push it straight in till it clicks. Just like that. Now, our door panel is back installed. The two plugs will go back in place here. They just snap right back in, just like that. And test the window. Make sure that there is nothing catching behind it, you know, anything sticking out or didn't get snapped in right. And we now have completed the installation of a new door handle into our vehicle, and everything has been tested, seems to be functioning fine. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching the video. I'd appreciate it if you'd give it a thumbs up. Drop me any comments down below, and thanks for watching.